And SABC News International News Editor Sophie Mukwena now joining us in studio. Good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Unprecedented documents found in the former president's home, including documents relating to the nuclear program.
At a time where the globe is facing a challenge and everybody is worried that with the war in Ukraine and with Ukraine with its nuclear capability and Russia being a country with nuclear capability, something can go horribly wrong. We saw when President Putin announced that he's moving this nuclear capability to Belarus, how the world was worried. And therefore you have a former president sitting with this important information or documents. Who knows who has it by now? I think charges are very serious and therefore he is in real trouble.
Yeah. Is it known how the documents actually got to his house? And also we know that there hasn't been an outright denial about the documents being found in his home.
Well, he's a former president. He had access to this information. And when he left office, he was supposed to hand over whatever he had in his possession, anything that was classified. And therefore, it's not a question of how it got there. The question is why he didn't hand over these documents. Because remember, he gets a briefing from the highly classified information from different organs of state. And therefore, he is entitled to it. But when you are done, take back whatever belongs to the state, And therefore, I think the argument that how it got there wouldn't hold much water, but the reality is, unfortunately, he was even trying to conceal information, even asking people who are working there, how can he hide this? Should he divulge or disclose information? And he has been recorded. It's on recordings, not just a hearsay. And the evidence is overwhelming. When you look at what the prosecutor said, Jack Smith, when he had that press conference, you could see even his body language that he's dealing with something very serious, and he didn't even want to make a long statement.
Yeah. And some of his allies also turning their back against him, but I see that CBS News actually ran a poll and they say that after Trump's indictment, most see security risk, but the Republicans see politics. I know that Mike Pence has also said that he will be contesting. What does this all mean for Donald Trump's attempt to become the Republicans' representatives to actually contest the elections and become the president again?
I think in terms of the primaries, he is going to win. He's going to defeat the other contenders within the party. But the question is, will he be able to be a candidate in relation to the laws of that country? And that is why Prosecutor Jack Smith said this is going to be a trial that they are going to ensure that they conclude this matter quickly, because he's fully aware that is ahead of elections. But I predicted before Trump took office that he is going to win because of the environment and the climate that prevailed at that time. This time I'm predicting whether Trump is available or not available, he is not going to win elections with this kind of behavior. I mean, Americans do understand what's at stake in terms of protecting the country as a, the influential country around the world. You can't have a person who's so reckless.
Yeah, and speaking about the importance of the country and also protecting the country's interest, Christopher Coons, the chairman of the subcommittee on state for foreign operations, is penning a letter where they're saying that when it comes to the AGOA forum, which is set to be taking place here in South Africa this year, that the administration, the US administration, should reconsider it because of what they call South Africa's neutral stance. South Africa said they're not necessarily neutral, but they are non-aligned. What do you make of that?
Well, this is not new. I spoke to some officials within the embassy when Janet Yellen was in the country about reports around the secondary sanctions. Janet Yellen later confirmed that they will do that. They will punish countries that are doing business with Russia or that are supporting Russia, irrespective of who those countries are. And therefore, at that time, there was this move. It is a private member bill that was presented by a Republican, a member of the Congress, that South Africa must be punished. And this is a continuation. And now they are targeting the forum, that's Africa is supposed to host the AGOA forum.
Yeah.
Very critical to us because much as there are challenges within that agreement, but you know that South Africa is able to send its product and business do benefit. Secondly, you can say whatever you want to say. You can come with your rhetoric. When you look at trade, how trade is being done, particularly in relation to South Africa, America is our largest FDI. That's where we get our FDIs. And when you combine America and Europe, it gets even bigger. Yes, China is our largest trading partner, but in relation to FDIs, it's America and the Europe, and therefore it is a challenge, and that is why the minister.
Why do you bring up the FDIs? Is there a possibility that the US could say to companies that are US based, that have their HQs in the US, that you should stop trading in the US?
The US wouldn't do that, but what I'm saying is, I hear people saying we can do away with US anytime. Some are saying we can do away with China anytime. In terms of global economy and trade, every country is important. America gives you FDIs with Europe. You have China, largest trading partner. On the other hand, our trade between South Africa and Russia is growing. And therefore, when you deal with this thing, you are in government. You really have to balance the situation. You can't just be arrogant.
Actually, earlier on, we were speaking to Victor Homoswane, the author of Africa's Open for Business and Africa Bounces Back. And he's one of those people who are arguing that this is just short-term pain. Actually, one of our listeners was responding to that Victor Homoswane knows then when the brown stuff hit the fan, he won't suffer. I, for one, cannot afford another interest rate hike. He speaks about short-term pain.
Why is the president sending the 7 envoys to the G7? Why is the president appointed envoys, Dr. Sidney Mufamadi and the others, to go to the United States of America? It looks like the message was received, but you still have to tighten. And now the president has decided to send ministers to the G7 countries. Why?
Is there a possibility, though, of South Africa losing its status? Koen says that there is that possibility in that letter, but what do you think of that possibility, considering, of course, how strategic South Africa is to accessing the continent?
I don't think so. South Africa is a strategic country on the continent, but secondly, under the Democrats, I don't think that will happen. Yes, perhaps under the Republicans, if you have a hothead president like Trump, he can take a decision within a wink of an eye. We know that he did reverse many decisions where and for us where America was participating. But I don't think this will happen. And also in terms of hosting of AGOA, I don't know whether this will happen. It is a short space of time, and to arrange for such a meeting will be very, very challenging logistically.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. SABC News International Affairs editor there, Sophie Mokoena, on some of the developments happening in the USA, including the possibility of the AGOA 2023 forum, which is set to take place in South Africa, being moved to another country.